Welcome to the Aligned Soul and Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Rosy Marquez, and today's episode is one that comes straight from my heart. I want to share the story of my spiritual awakening, my journey, not just the events, but all of the shifts that have happened in my life and how it has changed everything for me. And my hope is that something in my journey resonates with you wherever you are on your own path. And so, before this life change happened, as I mentioned in the past, I spent many years obtaining a degree, working in education, achieving as many things as I could possibly achieve to demonstrate that I mattered, that I was important, and that I was worthy. And it was tough to be living a life in that way because I just was constantly trying to figure out how to balance what I was feeling internally with what was happening outside, all around me. And at that time, I didn't know that my body was constantly trying to bring me back to my true purpose. I just felt like I was in a constant battle of validation and not being happy, then feeling validated and once again, not feeling happy. I would change grade levels like every couple of years. I changed different schools because it was like I would meet my goals and then I was bored, but then I wasn't happy. So this continued for so many years. And about around the time of 2020, which we know was a catalyst for so many people because our worlds just completely turned in a way that we had never even imagined. And so the same happened with me. It was kind of starting to question like what's really happening? Like all of these people are divided and some people are saying this, and then we have the total opposite saying in other groups. And so it started to put like doubts in my mind of like, I've always been a rule follower. I've always believed everything that um, people in high positions say. For example, like if a doctor tells me this, then I'm going to believe the doctor. If a teacher told me this, if somebody on the news told me this, if somebody in government said this, then I was always thinking that everybody was acting for the good of the people. And 2020 started making me realize like, hold on, maybe you need to start questioning it. And I wasn't like completely like right away, like, no, I'm going to question everything because honestly, I still kind of continued doing the things that people in control were telling me. For example, we were asked to either get the vaccine or be tested weekly at work in order to be able to be in compliance. And I didn't question it. Honestly, I was just like, I don't like doing the nasal swab every week, so I'm just gonna go get it. That's fine. Other countries, people are standing in line for hours, and we're just getting it for free, and it must be good. So I'm just gonna go get it. And my husband was one of the first to question me, and it bothered me because I didn't really know the answers to his questions, but I figured like, how are you? You don't know what that they're doing something to hurt us. And I remember him joking around and saying, okay, when you start growing a third arm from your forehead, don't tell me anything. Don't tell me I didn't tell you not to do this. And so whatever, I just went along and um, did what I was asked. And I had a friend, or I have a friend, who has been my friend since high school. And she started posting things that made me continue to say, like, maybe there's some truth to all of this. And at first, it made me uncomfortable because the things and the words that she was using were just so out of my comfort zone that I was like, what happened? Like, why is she so upset? Or is it because she had this near-death experience so many years ago that she sees life in a different way? And um, but it was too much. It was like too much for me to process. And so I would just not read some of her posts. And then at times, like some other ones, um, I would connect with, and it was just kind of to plant that little seed in my mind of like, hey, maybe you've been going about this all wrong. Um, and so I remember asking myself, like looking around and asking, is this really it? Is it really like my life is going to be this constant doing, doing, doing? And then if I get to retirement, I'm going to enjoy life. And I don't know, something inside me was just like, I don't think that's it. Like, there's no way that I'm going to be working for 40 more years and finally be able to enjoy my life. Like, this cannot be it. And grew up Catholic. I remember going to mass and feeling peace. But then as soon as I would walk out of mass, like all of the thoughts would start like rushing back in. And it would bother me because I'm like, how is it that I'm only going to feel peace 1 hour a week? Is it that I need to start going to mass every day? Like, why? Why is it that only when I'm in this building do I feel this peace? And so I continue to kind of be upset with myself of like, why can't I find this peace that I long for so much? And it's only happening once a week. So by then it's already about 2022, and I'm starting to just feel this uneasiness so much. And I'm thinking, I don't want another career. Like I've already tried all these different things within my field of education, and it always ends up the same way. Like it's never enough. Like I want more. I want to be able to talk to more people. I want to be able to connect and be able to say whatever I want without being censored, without being told like, oh, you can't say that. And so I finally got to a point where I was like, I need to step away. I need to step away because I need to find myself. And it wasn't specifically in those words that it came to me. I didn't even know about this word, spiritual awakening. I just knew that something had to change. And so fast forward to 2023, and I resigned. Actually, I took a leave of absence. And then when school started back up in August, I started seeing my friends, my social media was all different things that had to do with education and teaching. And I started feeling like, did I make a mistake? Did I step away from something that I really loved because I didn't know how to understand my feelings? Or maybe I'm putting too much weight on these feelings that I'm having, and this is just life, and I'm overthinking things like I always do. So I started questioning myself. And the days kept continued on. My kids went back to school. I was spending my days cleaning and cooking, doing laundry, picking them up from school, dropping them off. And again, it was just like, what? Like, this can't be it. This is definitely not what I think God had for me. Like, He did not want me to sit here having all of this knowledge. Like, I pride myself with how much knowledge I have in my brain and how quickly my brain makes connections. Like, that has been one of the things that I'm so proud of. Like, my brain is just at another level. And so I thought, like, there's no way that God gave me this brain and I'm using it to cook and clean and organize, and that's it. It can't be. So I started to do activities that would help like fill my cup again. I started walking, jogging, and I joined a mom's group at church, and I was meeting new people. And um, when I started jogging longer and longer time frames, I started listening to different books and just continued to take in knowledge. And I started reading books about your like inner self and the habits that we create and how we're in control and things like that. And then I came across this post on Instagram that my friend, the same friend from back in 2020, she shared. And it was this doctor, Dr. Jess, and she was talking about like all of these illnesses and connecting them with root causes, and how our medical system is not focused on healing, but in continuing to keep us sick. And it really intrigued me because I could relate to a lot of those things. Like there was never really a solution. It was always just like a band-aid. My sister was diagnosed with lupus when we were in high school, and it was always just that, like just a band-aid and just continue being sick. There was never like a solution. And so I resonated with a lot of the things that she was saying. And then one day I get into my car and this sound starts playing, and I'm like trying to turn it off because it's kind of like mystical or like universe. Like it was just a weird noise that I was like, what is this? Like what's playing in my car? So I look at my phone and it's not playing anything. So then I look at the screen on my computer on my car, and I'm like trying to pause this thing, lower the volume, and like nothing's working. Okay. And I'm just like, okay, what's happening? Like, where is this noise coming from? And so whatever, after spending a few minutes trying to turn it off, I needed to focus on the road, so I just let it play. And it was a podcast by a woman that now I love her podcast. And the podcast is called La Magia del Caos. It's the magic of chaos. And she was interviewing a doctor named Dr. Nirdosh Cora, which they were speaking Spanish, like very traditional Mexican Spanish. And I was just like, Nirdosh Cora? Like, what kind of name is this? Like, and the things that he was saying were just like connecting. All of these things were connecting with what I had learned, with what I had been hearing Dr. Jess say. And so I was so intrigued. I went down a rabbit hole of like finding out like what this man was talking about. He was talking about German new medicine. And recently my mom had been diagnosed with breast cancer. She had a double mastectomy, and um, the things that Dr. Nirdosh was talking about made so much sense as to why that illness had appeared in her life at that specific moment. At that point, I was mind blown. Like, I cannot believe that all of these things that I have always believed because the news has said it, or like different articles say this, that breast cancer is passed down by genetics, and he was saying the total opposite. And I was so intrigued, and I spent hours and hours and hours learning. I bought courses that he offered to learn more about it and help myself understand like all of the things that I have ever dealt with. And it was all clicking. And so here's where my journey started, like just snowballing. Like it was just like small trickle effects like happening from 2020 to now, like it was just coming fast. And it was so interesting and kind of shocking to me that like this podcast started playing out of nowhere in my car. I had to listen to it because I couldn't turn it off. And then it explained so many things. And I was like, God, you cannot be speaking any louder to me right now. Like I'm listening. I've quieted myself down and I'm listening. And so now I've learned about Dr. Jess. I've learned about Dr. Nirdosh. I've started listening to this podcast that has a ton of different amazing guests that are just opening my mind to so much. And my brain is loving it. Like it's loving all of this new information. So now it's February of 2024, and my sister invites me to a retreat. And it is put on by one of our local doctors, Dr. Anna Marie Frank, who owns Happy Whole You. And, we're out of our comfort zone where we're told to take our yoga mats and to dress comfortably. We are randomly put onto different tables with different people. But what was crazy about the table that I was sat at was that most of the people at the table were educators. And I was like, what are the odds? Like, here's this room filled with so many women. I'm going to say somewhere between like 70 to 80 women. And I am sitting at a table with fellow educators. Like, what are the odds, right? And during this retreat, we start off with an activity, and I don't recall exactly how it went. I know that we were laying down on our yoga mats. I know that Dr. Anna Marie was walking us through some breath work, and she had like a huge gong that she was playing. And so it was like the sounds, the energy that was like flowing from this big metal thing was like penetrating my brain. And so here we are breathing deeply in these ways that I had never breathed before. And women start crying all around me. And I could hear them sobbing, and I wasn't feeling like crying, but I started feeling like this energy, like this current running through my body from like the tip of my feet all the way to the top of my head, through my arms and my hands. And it was like my body was like moving. And I'm like freaking out here because I'm just like, what is this? What is happening to me? I have never experienced anything like this. Like, what's happening? And I know it sounds like out of this world for many people. It's like, okay, whatever, Rosie, what are you talking about? But no, literally, I could feel the energy moving through my body. And so at some point she says, like, if you need to scream, just scream and let it out. And I know there was like different questions that she was having us ponder through. And I thought like, okay, I'm gonna scream, but I could not scream. Like nothing was coming out of my throat, and other people were screaming, and I was just like so confused. And at that point, like just tears start to like just come down my face. And so after it's over, we sit up, and my sister and I both look at each other like, what just happened? And so I started explaining to her like what I was feeling during that time, and she had totally different experiences during it, but we were still both kind of thinking like, okay, these women, like, why are they screaming like that? What like, where are we? But we still continued enjoying it, being open-minded. There was even like a um a cacao ceremony. I had never heard of that. And I was even like, my Catholic mind was like, what? Like this doesn't seem right. Like what is happening? Like they had different cards, and I was like, what? I was very confused. And so we went through the ceremony. I didn't really feel anything during that moment. I felt peace. Like it was just all peace. Like nothing was about like believing in a different God or anything like that. Like it was literally like there's one God, and God is within us, and connect with yourself. And when you connect with yourself, you're connecting with God. And so it was beautiful. I felt like it was beautiful. There were all things that were very different for me, but it was all beautiful. And it was all like, I feel still very aligned with what I believed. And so once we leave, or actually, let me go back a little bit. Towards the end of the day, because it was an entire day that we were there, they tell us that underneath our chair, there was a message placed underneath everybody's chair. And everybody was different. And so here's mine. It reads, I am in the process of positive change. And so for me, it just like solidified that I was on the right track. Like all of these things that I was questioning, and even feeling like, what's happening? Am I on the right path? Am I really listening to God? Or am I like just kind of going crazy with all of this new information? And so for me, it solidified that I'm in the process of something good and continue on that journey. And something funny also that happened during the retreat was that they had different raffle prizes. And there was one raffle prize, and like literally before she read the number, I told my sister, like, it's gonna be me. They're gonna call my name. And I don't know how, like, I manifested it, I visualized it. I don't know. Like, it just came to my mind, and I just said it. And guess who they called? They called me. And I was just like, wow, what is happening? I cannot believe that all of these like synchronicities are happening. Um, So then the day was over. I went home and I talked to my husband and I was telling him these things. And as I'm telling him, like I'm sobbing, like ugly crying. And he's kind of like confused, like he doesn't know what to do. Like this is totally out of character for me. Not the crying because I've always been a crier, but just like the things that I was talking about. I've always been like very like rule follower and like this is what the church says and this is what the doctors say and this is what the government says and like just very by the book. And this was all different. And so he's so sweet. He just like has been open to me sharing all of the things that I share. He does giggle sometimes, and not because he's making fun of me, but more because he's just like, this is like a total 360 of who you were in the past. But like, I support you because I see you laughing, I see you smiling, and I see you enjoying life. And so he just can't, he supports me. So that was another part of my journey of like opening my mind to a whole new world. And so, as I mentioned, it was February 2023. A few weeks later, towards the end of February, Dr. Jess, the one that I had met through this other podcast months before, shares a podcast that she is a guest on. And so I started watching this podcast, and she's talking about all of the things that I've been learning about and the root causes of illness and things like that. And just like how um, like our oral health has so much to do with our body and just so much information. And this man that whose podcast this is, he's like speaking so calmly and just, I don't know, like I'm attracted to the way he's talking and the things that he's saying. And so I'm like, who is this guy? Who is this Jeremy guy? And so during my next few runs, because I'm still jogging every day, I start listening to his YouTube videos, and his YouTube videos are a whole nother world of things that I had never questioned, like the monetary system, the elite families that founded education and the workforce, and how they're like built to just keep us in this cycle of constantly doing and doing and doing and never fully living. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's where I was. Like he knows everything that I've lived for the past, at that point, I'm almost 40. So I'm like, the past 40 years, like he's explaining all of these things that I never understood or never realized. And so I'm consuming his content. So now I move away from just focusing on Dr. Nirdosh and Dr. Jess and Dr. Anna Marie. And I start learning about the wealth system and the economy and like history and how everything is related and there are cycles and just like all this information. So I do that for about like 40 hours a week every day from, I'm going to say about 2 months. So you can just imagine like how much information, how many rabbit holes I was going down. And like I've always loved like conspiracy theories and like crime or just like suspense, like things like that have always intrigued me. And so I felt like I was like constantly like watching a different episode on TV. And so in the past, I loved watching TV, and now I was like not watching TV at all. I was just watching these videos and trying to understand like the world. And of course, I'm still questioning like, okay, is this all BS or is this like, is there some truth to all of this? So I ended up, he had an offering of a community, the Level Up Collective is called, and I joined it. And so now I'm in this place where like there's hundreds of people, about 300 people or more, just like sharing their knowledge and sharing their journeys. And I'm just like connecting with so many of them. And like that's the same thing that happened to me. And like I can't believe that I didn't learn this sooner, or just like all of this information. And so it starts to connect every little piece of my mind and my soul and all these thoughts that I've had for so many years. Because the first part of this collective was to do a lot of inner work. And I had never even heard of this stuff. And it was kind of like going to therapy, like going to therapy, but doing this all by yourself. And by yourself in the sense that, like, yes, you're watching these videos that are asking you these questions, but you're answering them for yourself. Like I learned about theta waves and alpha waves. I had never heard of that. I started listening to them and I could see how my mind was just like quieting down, and I was starting to get downloads of information that were helping me clarify like the things that I had questioned in my life. And then I started being able to identify like, who am I? Like, why couldn't I answer this question for so many years? If anybody were to ask me that question, I would just start crying. And I couldn't figure out like what makes me happy and who am I besides a mom and a wife and a teacher? Like, who am I? Who is Rosy? And it was beautiful. And there was a whole bunch of crying involved in it because like there was just all of these different events, like going back to my childhood that clarified like why I was this perfectionist, why I had to be the best at everything I did. And I started to break down those beliefs that were not always true. Like, I don't have to prove to anybody that I'm worth it. I am worth it. And I'm worth it because God put me on this earth. And I'm worth it because I'm breathing. If I wasn't worth it, I wouldn't be breathing. And so this inner peace started to grow within me, and it wasn't just happening on Sundays during mass. Like it was extending to my daily life. And I was starting to see like a beautiful sunny day, a beautiful gloomy day. I was every second of my day was beautiful. No, I wasn't always laughing and excited about everything. No, there were moments that I was just like, oh, I have to go cook. But even that was just like, no, I don't have to go. I get to. Like, my kids are going to enjoy this meal. My husband's going to enjoy this meal. And I got to do that for them. And so it started changing so many daily things like that. I started being able to just sit with myself and visualize like my life. Like this is what I want. If there were no limitations, what would my day be like? And then start living that day, not like, oh, whenever this happens, then I'll be able to live this day that I just envision. No, I started incorporating one thing here, one thing there, into making this a reality. And it was amazing to see it coming to life. Like I visualized this life and it's happening right now. And at times it was a little bit scary, like, okay, when is it? When is like reality going to kick in and something bad's going to happen? And it didn't. Yes, there were events that were sad, that maybe were not completely positive, but even those negative events that happened, like I saw the what it taught me. Like there was events that I don't want to go into detail, but could have been seemed like not end of the world, but close to it. Like, how am I going to restart from this? But instead, it was just like, okay, now what did I learn from it? What am I going to not do again? And then I was at peace with it. And it was amazing. And it is amazing. It still is amazing. Like the relationship with myself, like I could literally look in the mirror and say, I love myself. I love my body. I love my brain. I love the way that I'm growing. I'm not perfect. There's nothing about perfection in any of this, but I'm loving who I am, and I'm loving the things that I'm passionate about. And now I want to share it. I want to share it with other people because I kind of felt like I was robbed of those 40 years. Like, oh, if I would have learned this stuff in my 20s, then I would have spent 20 more years excited about life. And of course, I had to work through that because it isn't like, oh, I missed out on those 20 years. No, it's like, okay, you learned it now. You're embracing it now. Like share it with other people. Like you got to spend all of this time in education, learning how to teach, learning how to connect with people, learning how to analyze data because you needed that to be able to do that now. And now you're doing it with a different purpose, but you're still teaching. You're still teaching what you learn. You're living what you learn, and you're bringing joy to the world. which is what I was doing while teaching as well. It's just a different perspective of it. And so, one of the biggest lessons that I have learned through this journey is that peace is a choice. So I would say often, like, I want to feel peace. But now I realize that peace is a choice. I get to choose if I feel peace. That's my choice. And so then every action that I take is connecting me to that choice of feeling peace. Like setting limits, setting boundaries to keep my peace, not because somebody else is bothering me or not because I want to get back at somebody for doing something that I didn't like. No, all of those boundaries are to keep my peace. And I'll talk more about boundaries at some other time, but that's my biggest lesson. Peace is a choice, and I choose peace. And this, all of this journey, all of these synchronicities, I can't even say the word anymore, synchronicities have been to teach me that peace is a choice. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to this journey and that some of this has resonated with you. Like, where are you in your life? Um, like, just enjoy the process. Next week, I want to share with you guys three things that have helped me during this journey. And once again, if any of this resonated with you or with somebody that you know, please share it with them. And I hope to see you guys next week again. Thank you for listening. I'm so excited for this journey and for you to join me on this journey. Until next time, bye guys.